Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Arnie Diaz Show. Today's show, a review of Thor, Love and Thunder. Thor Love and Thunder is the third movie by Taika Waititi, the second Thor movie. And I'm going to say it because I think this movie is starting to get a bit of a bad name for how silly it is. I don't care. This movie fucking ruled. I completely understand why people say it's a little too silly, which brings it a little under Ragnarok. I get it. It is kind of a silly fest. However, I think Taika Waititi truly delivers a really good, rousing, epic, fun, kind of silly plot and story. I think it just ultimately worked for me because I think he did the work of actually writing good characters in this movie. Unfortunately, he equaled that work he did with an equal amount of pretty erroneous, and I have to admit, a lot of times really, really funny silliness. But the underlying story, I think, is really fun and is I think a work by Taika Waititi that doesn't make me think he's gone lower in his abilities, but that he still has the same abilities. He just needs to rein it back a little bit so that a little bit more of his really well polished and I think really well done story here can shine a little bit. Natalie Portman and Chris Hemsworth have the most chemistry I have seen from them in a Thor movie. I believe their relationship. Natalie Portman has something to do here. She isn't just some tertiary character. She really has a lot to do because her story is fleshed out. And that's really the best way to have a kind of romantic movie, to have both characters really be realized characters. Thor, understandably, is a bit silly, but Natalie Portman's character, I think, has some grace. And look, Natalie Portman's an Oscar winner. There's a reason for that. She also really chews some scenery as the new Thor. Look, the dynamic is sometimes awkward and kind of bogged down by what I think is just the cartoonish character of Thor, because that's what he is now. But I think the relationship works because there's just history there. And I think that both of the performers are doing everything they can to bring as much levity to this really funny, quaint, silly story. But it works because they really are putting the work into it. Chris Hemsworth is doing his best to make sure he balances both of those things. And I think it's kind of an underrated performance, but he's doing it. It's silly the things that are happening. It's kind of silly what's going on with him and his character, but he's really giving as much as he can in the scenes that him and Natalie Portman have together. I think the work they did together, it's the best part of the movie, for sure. And also, what is an incredible part of this movie, Christian Bale. I mean, this is kind of low-key a really stacked cast. Christian Bale does an incredible job as Gore the God Butcher. He's menacing and his story makes sense. The whole movie begins with who he is and why he's doing what he's doing. And I have to say, it hits. It hits home and it feels like something that I would root for. It's the best kind of villain role. Christian Bale really does bring it. I think he feels that everyone in the room is doing it, so he really did bring his A game to this performance. It is not only menacing but sympathetic. The way it's communicated, why he's doing everything, you get it, and you're kind of halfway rooting for him. But he's also really damn terrifying. There's a moment in this movie with Christian Bale and some of the children of Asgard that is particularly that I think is probably the best part of acting in this entire movie and is also quite terrifying. I think Taika is really starting to develop his director's eye. I think there's some sequences in this movie that are also really well done. There's a sequence towards the beginning of the third act of this movie where everything goes monotone and the action sequences are done in the halfway shadows because that's the way Gore's power work. And I know a lot of people who will say that I'm gushing on this movie a little too much. Look, I enjoyed the hell out of it. It was fun, heartwarming, and it definitely lived up to the title Love and Thunder. I think it's quaint. It has a lot of heart to it. Definitely was made as a love story in more ways than one. I give Thor Love and Thunder a solid 8.5 out of 10. Ultimately, I do agree with some of the criticism of it being a little too silly for its own good. But I think the underlying story and work from everyone, from the director and the actors, makes this movie a must watch. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Arnie Diaz.